Hello and welcome to the Spotlight Games podcast. Today is not just any episode of our sweet little show. Today is our 50th episode, and to celebrate, we're going to decide the best PlayStation game in a March Madness style bracket with 64 of the greatest games to ever appear on a PlayStation console. And since this show is usually just myself and my sweet dumpster boy Cayman disagreeing about what's good and what isn't, we had to bring in a third chair to break our ties when they would inevitably happen. We're joined today by a very special guest on today's show. You might know him from comedy clubs across the West Coast. You might even know him from Kennesaw State's improv ensemble, KISS, back in the day. But you most likely know him as this season's most handsome comic from America's Got Talent, Jordan Conley. Jordan, thank you for joining us to talk about nearly 30 years of PlayStation. How are you, sir?
Thank you, actually, for that wonderful introduction. So I just want to make sure we can hear me properly on the microphone. I quite feel fantastic about this this journey we're taking through PlayStation. I've been a PlayStation owner since the one PlayStation, the PS1, as the English call it. I'm losing the accent. Yeah, I've always had PlayStation 1.
You're not from England?
No, I am not.
Oh no, he's from Wakanda.
Yeah. We've had PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we got the 5. I actually got the 5 when it first came out, which was what a hassle. We know. I have.
Oh yeah.
Long story short, I have my PS5 because of Patrick. I don't know where your screen is at on everyone else's, so here I am. So because of Patrick, I have my PS5. But yeah, I've always, if someone has an Xbox, I just go because you. So yeah,
the console wars are real and they are here. Jordan, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what's your favorite game of all time?
Ooh, half black, half African American young male from Orange County, California. Okay. Comedian and actor. I'm a big nerd. Love video games. Worked at Disneyland and Universal Studios for 3 years at Universal Studios, about 7 years at Disney. AGT, obviously, that just happened. Favorite video game of all time?
Is it on this bracket today? Is it a spoiler?
Crap. Okay, I'm gonna do my second favorite because my favorite is on the bracket.
I accept.
And by the way, I want to preface this. My favorite games have a lot of biases with them. Okay. So second favorite game, huge bias. We're going Batman Arkham City. That's overall game. So if we were to go PlayStation specifically, I can't answer because
I understand. I understand.
Honestly, both of my top 2, so I can't even give you my backup because it's
I love a man whose top favorite games are on the PlayStation. That voice you haven't heard yet today, folks. Come on, it wouldn't be an episode of the Spotlight Games podcast if we didn't have the other half of the Super Trash Bros. Cayman, thank you for joining. How are you today, my sweet boy?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Patrick. I'm very excited to go in and give my unsolicited opinion, unwanted opinion, and unwarranted opinion on every single one of these video games. All 64 of them. I'm planning on coming in hot. I'm planning on taking a dark horse all the way to the championship. So let's fucking go.
LFG, baby. This is going to be a thick show, especially if you're in the audience. Feel free to chime in. We'll cover all that. We're going to cover all that, but let's start with some housekeeping. This is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we're going to spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so you're notified when we're going live so you can be part of the conversation. And if you'd rather just write into the show, you can always email us, mail@spotlightgames.net. We do have a new episode of Save Trash Cinema out today. Cayman, tell the folks at home what's new in the world of Save Trash Cinema, because this one is exciting. Cayman.
So on today's episode, we actually did something very different than we normally do. We did a game show called Trash or Pass. What we did is we brought 3 contestants on. Each one of them brought a real trash cinema film, and everyone brought a fake trash cinema film. And then they tried to fool each other by having them try to guess the wrong movie. Then at the end of the game, guess what? Final round, they had to face off against the Dumpster Boy. And I brought together a whole slew of challenges for our contestants. And let me tell you, we had a dramatic finish. Came down to the wire. Fantastic episode. We're going to be doing more of those. So keep tuned, and if you ever want to be part of the Trash or Pass game show, we have an open seat for you.
There it is. Boom, shakalaka. I was an audience member this time. I was not on the show, and yeah, it has my vote, folks. Give it a download, give it a listen, because it's a lot of fun. So we normally start these episodes, 49 times previously we have started these episodes with what we're playing. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's just jump right in. Graphic explosion. Let's first start by saying hi to people in the chat. We got Nick in the chat. We got Kayla in the chat. Hey, y'all. How we doing? Okay. So this is the way this is going to work. This is the three of us are going to decide the best game ever made that has been released on PlayStation in the style of March Madness. We have assembled what we have decided to be the top 64 games on PlayStation consoles. The list includes PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, PSP, and PS Vita. There are no PSVR games represented here. Excuse me. Mostly because I think it's safe to say that not everyone has played a lot of PSVR games. So I skipped that. That's the only thing that I skipped for this tournament. Each round, games will go against each other in 1v1 matchups, ultimately deciding the best PlayStation game ever made. I think I've said that like 7 times, and I'm going to say it about eight more times. Now, before we get started, there are some caveats to this list because I can already hear the torches being lit in the YouTube comments. This list that I'm going to put on the screen right now is mostly games that only appear on PlayStation consoles. However, there are definitely some games that have been released on other consoles, but we only included them if they are primarily associated with PlayStation. So we're not going to see BioShocks. We're not going to see Assassin's Creeds. We're not going to see Mass Effects. Also, for the most part, each franchise only has one representative. We could have included every Uncharted game if we wanted to, but we decided to spread the wealth a little bit. However, with that being said, there are some franchises that you'll see multiple entries for. The way we decided that is if they had a game, like a notable game released on a handheld console, or through the cold hard science of opinion, because some franchises we couldn't decide on one. So we had a couple, or maybe even 3. We'll find out here shortly. With that out of the way, Cayman, Jordan, the chat. Any questions? Is this all clear? Do we understand what we are tasked with today?
I'm ready to go.
My one outlier thing is, technically speaking, these are all fake anyways, because MLB The Show is the greatest PlayStation game ever created.
Fair. Wow, I didn't put MLB The Show on this list.
Coming in hot.
Unbelievable. How did I not put the one PlayStation exclusive sports game on this list? Well, it's not anymore, but
it would have been eliminated quickly, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to be the one to speak up for it.
I understand. All right, let's jump right in. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read all matchups. And then we're going to start in the square bracket. So actually, I'll just read them off when we do that bracket. So in the first division, we might call it, God of War 2018 against Kingdom Hearts 2. We have Deathloop against Until Dawn. We have Tomb Raider against Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. We have Little Big Planet against Uncharted 2. We have Infamous against Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. We have Silent Hill 2 against Days Gone. We have Spyro against Heavy Rain. We have Ghost of Tsushima against Horizon Forbidden West. We had a little bit of everything. We got some PS1. We got some PS2. We got some PS3. We got some Vita. No, we don't. We got some PS5. Let's do a little zoom and start with the first matchup of the evening. God of War 2018 versus Kingdom Hearts 2. Who wants to start us off?
I can start.
Jordan, go for it, buddy.
I know this is supposed to be a tough one. I'm going to do this, but I think it's hands down God of War 2018.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I want to give respect to Kingdom Hearts 2.
No.
I think and Nick in the chat, God of War, absolutely. And I'm a Kingdom Hearts nut. He nuts for Kingdom Hearts, and he's with the God of War team. I also want to quickly pause and clarify. Kayla had a question. Is there any criteria you guys are using to narrow it down or decide who wins? The cold hard science of opinion. Which game do we think is better? And like we can kind of interpret that as we go along. Is it cultural impact? Is it just the game we had a better time with? Is it just the game we think is better? I think it's going to kind of change depending on like what the matchup is. But I think ultimately the easiest way to define it will be what game do we think is better, I think is what we're going to do there. But yeah, I do want to respect Kingdom Hearts 2 and say it's a good game. It's an important game. It did everything the first one did, but better. But God of War 2018, come on. That's like an all-timer. That's an all-timer. It took here's a little anecdote, I think, as to why God of War 2018 is so special. I didn't give a shit about God of War before 2018. I had played some of 1, I had played some of 2. I had played like the Vita games, or technically they were PSP, but they were ported to Vita. And they were fun, but like they didn't ever do anything for me. They were just hack and slash. I'm angry, I'm yelling, and I'm killing. And it was cool, but I just didn't care. But the story in 2018, like flipping it on its head and making it such a story-driven game, completely changed the trajectory of that franchise to where now God of War Ragnarok is like, there are fewer games that I'm more hyped for than the next God of War. And 5 years ago, I never would have expected I would ever say the next God of War is a game that I cannot wait for. So
I agree.
I will actually, it's not like competition format, but I'll one up you by saying I didn't even play God of War 2018 until 2 months ago for the first time.
Whoa. So this is fresh on your mind.
Very fresh on my mind.
Hell yeah.
And it's
I would love to have that experience again.
Legit kind of the same reasoning. I really didn't care about the other God of Wars.
Yeah.
And it was like when I played 2018, within, I don't know, I think within the beginning of the game, and mind you, this is me going into the game blind. I'm like, I kind of know what it's about, but not really. Going into the game blind, that first, I'm blanking on his name, but that first villain who like can't die, he just keeps rejuvenating.
Oh yeah.
And it's so fresh, and I still can't think of his name.
Well, at first they just call him the Stranger.
Yes. Within minutes of starting the game, I'm like, best villain of all time. Like this guy is insane. And then we continue, and I'm like, please tell me he's not gone. Please. Please, what more? And just the way that story, I was screaming in that game. The end of the game, when you find out, it shouldn't be a spoiler because it's been 4 years, but when you find out that that's Loki, dude, I freaking screamed.
Unbelievable.
And this is freaking 2 months ago. I screamed.
Unbelievable.
So now I'm like,
yeah, Balder. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, Nick in the chat. Yes, the father-son narrative, the growth of Kratos and dealing with the pain of his past to become a better man / father. Incredible game, truly. And yeah, that fight with Balder it's like the best superhero fight in a video game ever. It's incredible. So there you go. Round 1 or matchup 1 in the books. Next matchup, I think this might be where it starts to get dicey already, and we're in game matchup number 2. We have last year's Patrick's game of the year, Deathloop, against Until Dawn. I wouldn't even call it a cult classic. I would just say it's a very popular teen horror thriller video game starring one Hayden Panettiere and one Rami Malek. Jordan, have you played Until Dawn?
yes, I have.
What did you think about it?
So here's the thing. When I say this, you're probably going to know what my answer is going to go to. I got what I'm going to assume is halfway through the game, and then I was kind of good.
Sure. You didn't need to see the end.
It's a really great, super dope game, but it's the amount of time it takes to get around. You want to explore, find things, maybe clues. Let me ask the questions. I'm like, bro, I'm kind of tired, but it's a great game.
Yeah. So for me, this is going to be a wild one here. I love Until Dawn. Until Dawn's one of my favorite games of that nature. But I have said and been on record before saying that I didn't enjoy Deathloop. It's just not a type of game for me. However, I'm choosing Deathloop over Until Dawn. One of the big reasons I think is really important to point out for this is that Deathloop, one, you have 2 black main characters, which we don't see in video games. Sure. And I think that that's really important. Like, we started to get some diversity there. Also, I think the game is just, it takes like a very familiar genre of game and then puts it into first person, which completely changes the way that the genre works.
Sure.
So I think it's a very interesting concept. And while I might not have had as good of time with the gameplay aspect, I do think the narrative of the game was really great. And I think it's just a better game than Until Dawn.
Yeah, I liked Until Dawn, but Deathloop I thought was so special. And objectively, Hayden Panettiere not black. So you're right about that.
That's actually accurate, I think.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure science is with me on that one. So Jordan, have you played Deathloop though? Did you get a chance to play Deathloop?
I not really, but I've seen gameplay. Like I'm one of those.
You gotta play it.
If I haven't played the game, I'll go on YouTube and just watch people.
For sure.
Play it. So I'm like, I know the game.
For sure. Yeah, I think that gives you a good enough sense of what it is. But definitely,
you still say okay.
Definitely recommend it. It was my favorite game last year. Matchup number 3, Tomb Raider. We're talking PS1 Tomb Raider against Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core on the PSP. Now, I want to start by saying I have not played Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. So if there's anyone in the chat that wants to be my vote, I accept that. However, I think Tomb Raider is so iconic that like, even if Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core is a 10, Tomb Raider like did something that so many games tried to do in that area, and that was break into the mainstream that I think a lot of games weren't able to do for a long time. So much so that they made several movies about this character. And you just like, that is icon status.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would vote for Tomb Raider, but
my vote is because I've played both. I'm going with Tomb Raider. If you're going to have to select a game from Final Fantasy VII, it's just going to be Final Fantasy VII. It's just a better game.
We'll be getting to.
So I'm also in the Patrick side. I haven't played Crisis Core, but when I read it, I was like, Crisis Core. Oh yeah, no, that's Tomb Raider. Like, who? I've never like been going out for coffee and someone says, "Hey man, I'll never forget those days of Crisis Core." No,
I know. If you said Dino Crisis, now we have another on our hands there. That's a Crisis I'll stand behind.
That's actually really funny that you say that, because originally Dino Crisis was in that exact spot, but then I was looking online and like Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core is like the top rated PSP game, so I was like, okay, I should throw it a bone, but here we are. Okay, Tomb Raider takes that matchup. Yeah, Nick in the chat. Tomb Raider genre defining, no matter what. Crisis Core was just building off the popularity of Final Fantasy VII. Get the fuck out of here, Crisis Core. Unbelievable. Next up, I think this is a matchup of two juggernauts.
I agree.
We got, and they're both PS3 games, PlayStation 3. Little Big Planet versus Uncharted 2. I'm going to start us off here.
Oh God, here we go.
And say, I think Little Big Planet was such a breath of fresh air in 2000X, whatever year that was. It was like the first in a long time PlayStation like platformer franchise, because in PS2 we had so many. We had the Jak and Daxters, the Ratchet and Clanks, but they kind of like took a break from those, and then PS3 comes out, boom, Little Big Planet, so cute, customizing all the shit, making your levels was really dope. But it's not Uncharted 2.
You are correct,
and I famously think Uncharted 2 is one of the weaker games in the series. I just know that like it is, I am in the minority on that opinion. That's why I put it on the bracket, but I still think it is better than a lot of games on this list.
Patrick. I'm going to go with Uncharted 2 as well, because Uncharted 2 for me, the way that I look at Uncharted 2, I platinumed Uncharted 4. It is one of my favorite games of all time. However, I think that the impact that Uncharted 2 had on the games industry was much, much larger. It was the first game I think we ever got that was like, it was almost like you were playing a movie.
Yeah.
It was cinematic in a way that video games never had been. And Uncharted 1 had its moments, but Uncharted 2 was like, this is what video games will be going forward.
For sure.
And I just 100% am behind that one.
What about you, Jordan? I mean, we already have 2 votes for it, but how do you feel about Uncharted 2?
This is true. So here, I'm also an outlier on Uncharted in the sense of, Uncharted. I'll say it later. I'll save it, whatever, for eliminated. But my favorite Uncharted game is actually number 4, but it's only my favorite after you play the other three. You know what I mean?
For sure.
When Sully makes his first entrance, I'm like, Sully's back. Like, we know it. But like, it made me feel good. It's such a great movie. Uncharted 2 is actually, I go back and forth, but it kind of teeter-totters between my second and third favorite, because Uncharted 3, I really enjoyed it.
I love Uncharted 3. That's actually my favorite of the franchise, is Uncharted 3. But I understand why like some people rank it a little lower. It just worked for me. And like the set pieces in that game are my favorite of any in the franchise. Like the airplane set piece is just so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And Nick in the chat, he like the train sequence of Uncharted 2 starting there and then that like building back to that moment is such a cool storytelling device.
It's one of those moments in a video game that like I would love to be able to replay that again for the first time. Because it's such just a like, especially now where it's like, can you give me that in the Uncharted 4 engine? Also, can I play it on my 65-inch OLED?
Yeah,
because I just feel like that would be the way I should experience it now.
For sure.
But you know, back then, holy fuck, that was just a moment in time where I had never seen anything like it. And honestly, we still don't really see.
Yeah. Uncharted is the reason I got a PlayStation, because I had never had a PlayStation before. And I'd been a Nintendo and an Xbox kid growing up. And I kept seeing these videos on IGN about Uncharted. And I was like, I have to get this. Like, this looks like the coolest thing ever.
Also, flex alert. You didn't have to say 65-inch OLED, but you had to. You know,
I had to. No, I had to.
I like it.
If you're gonna flex, you gotta flex all the way. You gotta flex both muscles.
I couldn't wait to put in my 42-inch Vizio Series D. So.
Hey, we love the D on this podcast.
We are a bunch of D boys.
Yeah. Next matchup in the square bracket, we have Infamous against Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Who wants to start us off on the decisions here?
All right, I'll jump in. I'm going with Infamous. I've just been historically, I'm just not as a big Metal Gear Solid fan, especially Peace Walker. That was a game that just did not hit for me.
Okay.
However, Infamous, I feel like, was one of those games where it was one of the first times I feel like a video game outside of maybe like Spider-Man 2 or like Hulk. What was it? The Hulk Ultimate Destruction. The first game that you felt like you actually were a superhero.
Sure.
And you technically weren't even a superhero. But like it was one of those like defining moments. And I think that game is just a really good game. Peace Walker, I think, definitely has its place. But I think, at least for me, I'm going with Infamous.
Okay, we got one for Infamous. Jordan, where are you sitting?
I'm also going Infamous as well.
Okay.
But, Infamous for me is a weird. I did it late. I played Second Son as the first Infamous game I ever played, and it was such it was such a fun but like quick hit of something, and I was like, this is kind of cool. How did we get here? Backtrack, found Infamous, and I'm kind of on Cayman's side. Outside of like Phantom Pain, I've never been a big Metal Gear fan.
Yeah.
That does not spell good for the Metal Gears in this bracket. Metal Gear Peace Walker is one of my favorite in the franchise. I expected this outcome, but I was hoping that one of you would be on the fence and I could like convince you to come to my side. I didn't play it on the PSP. I played it on the PS3, like when they did the remaster on the PS3, but it being built as a bite-sized experience, I would have loved to have had that game on the Vita and maybe it was available and I just was an idiot and I didn't know that, but I adored that game. And like the comic book art style of the cinematic sequences, instead of it being like fully done cutscenes, I fucked hard with MGS Peace Walker, but I get it. Next round, a game that is very close to Cayman's heart. Silent Hill 2 versus Days Gone. I am going to start us off on this one.
Go for it.
All right.
I have only watched things about Silent Hill because I didn't have the PS1. So I've never actually experienced Silent Hill 2, but I know its cultural impact. I know it was like huge for the time. It kind of like defined horror video games for several years. But Days Gone to me, and it might be recency bias, but that game when it released got so much shit for being broken, I guess. Like it was really, really buggy, but I played it like 6 months later and it was silky smooth. And I just loved that game. I had so much fun being Deacon St. John, riding around on my motorcycle against some freakers with Boozer. Booze Man.
Boozer. Oh, man.
And
Old
so
Boozer.
while it is a little unfair of me to go Days Gone because I haven't played Silent Hill 2, I just loved Days Gone so much. And I was really disappointed that it kind of is not having a future outside of potentially a movie. However, I am willing, if it comes to a split, I'm willing to throw my vote to the chat and have them choose for me. But I assume Cayman Silent Hill 2, I assume.
If you're going Silent Hill 2, I'm gonna just let you know now. I think both games are incredible.
Okay.
But because of replayability and how literally the game is kind of rinse and repeat, in my personal opinion, I'm going Silent Hill 2 because Days Gone, once you do it, you've done it. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else. So kind of replayability is what gets Silent Hill for me.
I get it.
So Silent Hill 2 for me, like it's one of those, it's like a cultural moment. And one would say like, well, why not Silent Hill 1? And it's just like, look, Silent Hill 1 was great, but it wasn't until Silent Hill 2 that the world was as fleshed out, right? And it is just, I mean, we still see elements of horror games today that are ripped directly from Silent Hill 2. That's like how important I think Silent Hill 2 is.
Cool.
For at least just the horror genre of video games. Like it is very important. So obviously, like you said, I'm going Silent Hill 2.
Boom. Silent Hill 2 in the books. And yeah, we got John in the chat. We got Nick in the chat, Silent Hill 2. So I'm happy to give it to Silent Hill 2. Next on the list, Spyro versus Heavy Rain. Spyro the Dragon versus Jason.
I'm going with Jason. Look, I understand Spyro. I love Spyro. But I look at Heavy Rain as one of those games where it was like, we wouldn't have games like this if Heavy Rain didn't exist. And sure, we can talk about all the problematic elements with the developer and just how horrible, not even the developer, just the head of the studio is a piece of shit. But like Heavy Rain is one of those games that like, that was one of the driving forces for me to get a PlayStation was Heavy Rain. I fuck with this game so much. It is, if I had to pick one of those, like, I guess walking simulators or like choice-based games like this, like Life is Strange, Heavy Rain, Until Dawn, the Quarry, whatever, I always divert back to Heavy Rain as being like the peak. That is the pinnacle for me.
Sure. All right, we got one in Heavy Rain's corner.
Now I understand if you guys go Spyro, I won't be upset.
Jordan, where are you falling on this one?
Okay. So I have two takes on this. Heavy Rain is actually the very first video game that made me a guy who, if I don't play the game, I have to watch someone.
Interesting.
It was, what's the guy's name? The Rad Brad.
Yeah.
He had Heavy Rain, and I was like, dude, I keep hearing about this game, but I don't feel like buying it. And I was just like, yo, this game is dope. But Spyro is one of those games, and it's rare. But I was like, I gotta buy the Reignited trilogy.
Hell yeah,
that's fair.
Hell yeah,
freaking have to. So I'm going Spyro.
So it's currently split, Spyro and Heavy Rain, and I'm seeing so many Spyros in the chat. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I have not played Spyro. I haven't played the Ignited trilogy. I might have played it like once or twice at a friend's house as a kid, but I never owned it. I've never finished a Spyro game. But I love the color purple, and I love our audience. So I'm letting them be my vote for Spyro and sending Spyro through to round 2. But
I'm down with that. I
do want to also give some respect to Heavy Rain, because that was also a reason why I bought the PS3 in college, was Uncharted, Heavy Rain. Like I was just seeing all of these like story driven, like really cinematic games. And so I was like, that looked really cool. And I bet Heavy Rain, I'd be interested to see if that game still holds up today, like how it feels and stuff. I'm sure the story still holds up. It's a really cool concept, but I wonder if that game doesn't really feel good in 2022 anymore. But that's a different conversation.
By the way, just to clarify something, because I know what you were saying, Patrick, but just for the viewers, when he says the color purple, he's talking about the color and the movie.
Yes.
Just so
and the book,
understand, and thank you, and the play as well,
and the play,
the musical.
So just to clarify, you meant it as a whole. The color.
Oprah is a personal friend of mine, actually. I was just speaking to her. It would have been like mid-August. We're buds. Yeah, we're
nice.
Yeah, me and Miss Oprah. Next matchup, final matchup of round 1 in the square bracket. Some new games. We're coming into the modern era with these two. Ghost of Tsushima versus Horizon Forbidden West. Have we all played Forbidden West? I know me and Cayman have. Jordan, did you get a chance to play the new Horizon?
Yes. And here's a question. Can I go first on this one?
Yeah,
Please.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember I said I can't give you my top 3 games because they're all on here. So technically speaking, Horizon Zero Dawn was my all-time not all-time, but top 3 favorite PS4 game. Like freaking incredible. And I was like, dude, I don't know if you can actually like build my hype up and like kill it like that, like, like in a great way. Because Far Cry 3 came out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the new Far Cry, how do we do? Forbidden West was really damn dope.
Yeah,
like
it was great.
Oh my gosh, I freaking loved it. The way the scenery, how everything kind of popped more. The introduction of the new I'm just gonna say dinosaurs. They're machines, but like
we can call them dinosaurs.
Okay, the dinosaurs, and I really actually dug the storyline. Like,
it was great.
It was like I was like, how do you top the first story? And this one was like, yeah, we're gonna like low key Matrix you and kind of just show you the creators, and they're like the ultimate. And that boss battle at the end, oh my god! So yeah, I'm going Forbidden West. I died multiple times on that boss battle, by the way. Just multiple.
Yeah. I really did like Forbidden West a lot. I think it is a better game than Zero Dawn. And we had like a bit of a spoiler cast on that. Mm-hmm. And Horizon Zero Dawn, one of my favorite games. So therefore, if Forbidden West is better, it must also be one of my favorite games. But I don't know, there's something about Forbidden West that just like hasn't stuck with me like Zero Dawn did.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because like we're closer to the end of the story, so like I feel more satiated, or I don't know like what the why is there. But Ghost of Tsushima to me was such a special game. Like the art style was so cool. I loved the character of Jin. I think like so many of us, I wanted a samurai game, and like I was in the crowd that like Assassin's Creed Japan. Why aren't we doing Assassin's Creed Japan? And then Ghost of Tsushima did it and made a better Assassin's Creed game than any Ubisoft studio has ever done. And so for me, Ghost of Tsushima is like a top 5 all-timer for me. Forbidden West is close, but I loved Tsushima so much. And like the way with traversal, like using the wind to show you where to go instead of just like a yellow arrow pointing, like it was so stylish, so cool. So I'm gonna go Ghost of Tsushima here. Cayman, break the tie, baby.
It's brutal that we have both of these games next to each other in the very first round.
Hey, sometimes that's how
Forbidden West easily beats majority of the games that we've already covered, right? But it doesn't beat Ghost of Tsushima. Here's the thing: is I want to piggyback off of what you said. Horizon Forbidden West it's still like that game still sticks with me. But to your point, Forbidden West didn't have that same effect. Whereas like Ghost of Tsushima, like I still to this day, I'm like, every time I have like downtime where I'm like, should I play? What am I going to play now? And I'm like, fuck it. Should I play Ghost of Tsushima again? I platinumed it already, but do I do it again? Like,
sure.
And so I'm going to, unfortunately, I'm sorry to be the shitty tiebreaker here, but I'm going with Ghost of Tsushima.
I'm going to tell you now, you put it in such a brilliant way, both of you together. This is now a clean sweep, because one thing you said, Patrick, that stuck with me. I love Forbidden West, but in Forbidden West, I found myself just pushing X. Skip the words because you haven't grabbed me the way Zero Dawn is my top. That's my number 3 for PlayStation, because it was just such a unique, different thing. Forbidden West was dope, but it felt like Forbidden West was like, hey, come back to me and let's talk more about a lot more. And I'm like, just give me the meat and potatoes.
And there was like a magic gone because something with Zero Dawn is so much of what I wanted to learn was what is this world? What happened? Why are there robot dinosaurs? Why is it like tribal but like futuristic? Like there were so many question marks, and we had all of those answered for the second game. So the second game was just, let's just tell you a story in this world. And I think they told an amazing story that was really captivating, but it just didn't have that same magic that the first one had.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be putting all my chips in the Zero Dawn bucket for this bracket, not
Fair.
the Forbidden West bucket for that reason.
Fair.
But that's end of round one for the square bracket. So we have God of War, Deathloop, Tomb Raider, Uncharted 2, Infamous, Silent Hill 2, Spyro, and Ghost of Tsushima. Let's move on to the triangle bracket. Our first matchup, it's two Titans. Final Fantasy VII against Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I say two Titans, but we've already heard that neither of these boys really care for Metal Gear. So I think this is probably a clear Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII.
It is a Titan one too. That's so sad. But like when you said two Titans, I was like, this is for him to say. Specifically for you to just get it out. That
We
you
can
are going for Metal Gear.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Final Fantasy VII, and we can talk about Final Fantasy VII in the next matchup.
Okay.
When it goes against either Journey or Grand Theft Auto Vice City. This is another one. It's like, what a unfortunate matchup. Who wants to start us off here?
God damn.
I'll go just because I technically don't think Journey sits with me the way, like, my first Grand Theft Auto was Grand Theft Auto 3, and then we get to Vice City, and like even to this day, everyone's like, when's the next Grand Theft Auto coming out? Yo, but like Vice City though, like that one is such a huge one for me, and it is kind of like a Metal Gear Final Fantasy thing. Journey doesn't sit as huge with me. I know it's a great game, but like, what is Grand Theft Auto if you skip over Vice City?
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
I agree 100%. I love Journey. I think Journey is one of those just like magical moments. But Vice City just goes more. Like it just has more of it just resonates better.
I get it. My vote is for Journey, but it's already 2-1. So rest in peace.
It's close, Patrick, if that makes you feel better.
To that sweet desert boy.
Do we even need to guess on this next one? We can just go straight to, because we know that that's going to make it to the finals, right?
Vice City?
Oh, no. I'm talking about Nino fucking Cooney,
Nino
baby.
fucking Cooney. Let's go.
I just see it in the chat. All caps. That's hilarious.
Nino Cooney. Yeah, this is like not even a discussion. Like God of War Goes to Sparta could be like, it could cure cancer, and Nino Cooney is still a better video game.
It's just, the thing is Ghost of Sparta was just, it's the weakest of the God of War games in my opinion.
Of the like, so is the other handheld one better?
Oh, I guess that's fair. The Chains of Olympus.
Because if Chains of Olympus is better, we can just say that this is Chains of Olympus. But it doesn't matter because it's Nino Cooney.
I mean, but even then, like, if you were to like put that up, the only game I think that tops it is probably the God of War 2018. Like, in terms of beating Nino Cooney. Nino Cooney is a game that, like, it doesn't matter what happens. Like, Nino Cooney is just fucking gorgeous, and it's going up against The Last of Us Part 2 next round, I have a feeling.
It probably.
Well, I don't know who made this bracket, but they need to get their shit together because they're putting juggernauts next to each other in the first and second rounds.
Hey, that's showbiz, baby. That's showbiz. Jordan, did you play Nino Cooney?
I didn't. I know you guys are talking about it.
We're changing that tonight.
Okay, fair. All I know is, we already said it earlier, but 2018 God of War, I just didn't necessarily care. It's that hack and slash thing. At a certain point, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Just do
you or do you like Studio Ghibli movies, Jordan? Like My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, like the Spirited Away, like the Miyazaki movies.
Oh, yes. Oddly enough, I don't know any of the other ones, but then you said Spirited Away. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
All the movies that like have that same style. So they did the art for this game. So this game looks like a Studio Ghibli movie, and it's basically like a Pokemon game that looks like Studio Ghibli.
I've already won. You've already won.
It's unfucking believable. The story's incredible. Yeah, you got to play it. So yeah, that one's going through. Next, this is a tough one. Bloodborne versus The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, it's a tough one on paper. For me, it's an easy Last of Us 2. Last of Us is my favorite franchise. So like, but I'm willing to hear an argument for Bloodborne.
No.
Here's a funny story. If Bloodborne would have made it, I would have had a vendetta to get it eliminated because I can't get past, I don't know, 30 minutes into the game.
It's hard.
Before I'm stuck
It's
for life.
brutally difficult.
Screw you, Bloodborne. You will be eliminated. So
I've broke it. The only time I've ever done it, I broke a controller in frustration against the Shadows of Yharnam. It's like a midway, probably like 50% in the way of the game. I snapped it. I'd spent like 12 hours on this one boss. I was like, fuck this. I'm done. Cracked it. Took the disc out, put it in its case, and just don't even fucking look at me. You're done. Over.
Kayla in the chat, she'll riot if we don't choose Last of Us Part 2. And honestly, I probably would riot as well. Next matchup, Shadow of the Colossus versus Demon Souls.
This is a really hard one.
This can be the PS3 version. It can be the PS5 version. It would just whatever one you've played, if you've played either. I'll start us off on this one, unless someone has like just the strongest opinion about one of these two games. Okay. I think they're both really, really good. I think Demon Souls is a really important game. It's like the first of the Souls franchise, like completely created a whole new genre that is like one of the biggest genres in video games today. But Shadow of the Colossus is just like one of those. It's just such a special game. Like it captured something that like the scope and like scale of climbing these giant colossi was so incredible that this is actually a game. Cayman, you remember Tyler Cooper from high school?
Mm-hmm.
I played this game at his house and I liked it so much. I was like, can I please come back to your house and I'll watch you play. It does like, I just want to see this game more. And because I didn't have a PS2 and it just like blew me away. It was like, I cannot believe how cool this game is. So when it was re-released on the PS3, bought it day one and like loved it. And Shadow of the Colossus for me on this one.
Yeah, and I just like you said, this is a tough one mainly because Demon Souls essentially created the Souls genre. However, I'm going to give it to Shadow of Colossus because I think that game is it's something we still I don't think have ever really seen.
Yeah.
Again, like
truly.
Just
Jordan, do you have technically there's already 2 votes, but do you have a horse in that race?
No, you know, it's funny. Technically speaking, I would have just went with Demon Souls purely because my hatred for Bloodborne is only derived because of the fact that like Demon Souls can make me mad and I'll be okay. Like I'm okay. They make me mad.
Yeah.
But like it's about it really. But no, you guys actually you make great arguments for Shadow.
I dig it. Next one, this is one that I might shake some trees on. Castlevania Symphony of the Night versus Dark Cloud. I love Dark Cloud. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the most iconic video games of all time. One of the like biggest twists in the history of video games. But Dark Cloud is just fucking dope.
Dark Cloud is dope.
But however, I want to turn it to you guys. Jordan, do you have a horse in this race between Castlevania and Dark Cloud?
Yes, but I think I might turn mine to the audience because I don't know Dark Cloud. I know Castlevania, and by default of what Castlevania is, like for me, so I'm just like I think I would give that one I would defer to the chat.
Well, Perfect. we can leave it up to the chat for at least 2 votes because I'm 100% going with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like that game is just too important for video games. Like don't get me wrong, I think Dark Cloud is an underrated gem and a beautiful game. But Castlevania is just one of those games where it's just you don't have the name Metroidvania doesn't exist.
Vania comes from Symphony of the Night.
And Symphony
we got
of the
a lot
of did it. Honestly.
Yeah, we got a lot of Symphony of the Nights in the chat. Tony Thomas in the chat, Handsome Tony in the chat.
Handsome Tony.
Symphony of the Night created a whole genre. Tony. He makes a great point, a handsome point, and a great point. So yeah, we're gonna give this one to Symphony of the Night. Next up, we have Parappa the Rapper against Resident Evil. Resident Evil. Yeah,
I love my Parappa, but Resident Evil.
Come on, speaking of icon status, Resident Evil. Yeah, respect to Parappa, but has there been a Parappa game since it came out? No. Have there been 15 Resident Evil games? Yes. Next up, this is another big one.
This is tough.
Spider-Man versus Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex. What many consider the best Crash Bandicoot game ever made. And what many consider to be the best Spider-Man game ever made, maybe even the best superhero game ever made, which is why it has my vote.
I want to also remember that time I said there's 3 games.
Yes.
Number 2, and actually my all-time favorite PS4 game. I understand stories and everything, but as a superhero fan, Spider-Man is the greatest superhero video game ever created. Coming in close second is Blade.
I don't know, man.
No, that's a joke. But like, dude, Spider-Man.
I don't know. The Spawn. There was a Spawn game for the Sega Dreamcast. Now that they fucking was awful.
Okay.
Sweet Skeet in the chat. I was replaying Crash. Fuck Crash pissing me off and being hard. Spider-Man all the way. And then
really
John says Crash all day.
I was really hoping you were gonna be like, there's only one great, like the best superhero game of all time, and that's Crash Bandicoot. I was gonna be like, you pulled the rug out of it, but no, it didn't happen today.
I could have. I wasn't that clever. So the winners of the triangle bracket: Final Fantasy VII, Vice City, Ni no Kuni, The Last of Us Part 2, Shadow of the Colossus. God, this second round is going to be brutal. Symphony of the Night, Resident Evil, Spider-Man. So with that, let's mosey on over to the circle bracket. The first matchup of the circle bracket: The Last of Us versus Final Fantasy IX.
Just let's speed through this. We all know it's going to be The Last of Us, guys.
Okay, great. That's probably one of the greatest zombies.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if The Last of Us literally just wins all of this.
I mean, I don't want it to be like obvious, but like Nick in the chat, I'm biased. 9, no. 9 is amazing, but it's not
you're right, but it's not The Last of Us. I'm very curious about your guys' opinions because I know, Patrick, I don't think you've ever played Jak and Daxter.
I've not played Jak and Daxter. Huge spot in my gaming knowledge that I'm not.
So this one's I feel like this is gonna be an interesting one to come down to. I'll go and just say like that I would easily put my vote for Jak and Daxter, but I also could just easily be like, fuck it, Ape Escape.
Yeah.
Like they're both really good games, really fun games. And so, I'll let you guys, Patrick never played it, which is such a bummer because and if you try to go back and do it now, like
it's not going to work today,
so
but I'll still play it. But no one has said Ape Escape in the chat. Well, okay. As I say that, Kayla says Ape Escape.
Because I was going to say, I know Jak and Daxter, but I don't know Ape Escape. So if we both put our votes to the chat, technically, is that Jak then?
So we've had more Jacks than we've had Ape Escapes. Ape Escape is great. What a weird franchise. Like it was the reason that the DualShock was made on the PlayStation 1. But most people in the chat are saying Jak and Daxter. Cayman's going to vote Jak and Daxter. So Kayla, can I send Ape Escape multiple times and you will count it? I would, but we have more Jacks and Cayman's going Jak. So unfortunately, we're going to have to go Jak and Daxter on this one. But when we just do the PlayStation 1 only bracket, we'll have you on that so that you can vote for Ape Escape every time. Next round, Twisted Metal Black versus Hotline Miami. 2, I think, iconic video games. I think there's one that's a little more iconic than the other, but I want to open it up. Jordan, do you have a dog in this fight?
Dude, 1,000,000,000% freaking Twisted Metal Black. I don't know how to explain it other than when I played Twisted Metal for the first time, it was because my cousin had it. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of this game. There's like a clown or something, right? And he was like, dude, sit down.
Sit down.
Like, that's all he said was sit down. We played the entire day. Went home. I had to buy it. There's Twisted Metal. Oh my freaking gosh, Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
The show coming out soon. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I loved Hotline Miami, and I think it was like a seminal game on the Vita. But yeah, Twisted Metal Black. Talk about starting a genre that kind of died since then, but like the car combat games were huge in that time because of Twisted Metal.
Death Race, I don't think exists without Twisted Metal.
Yeah, sure. Next game or next matchup: Sly Cooper versus Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. This is a tough one.
This one's brutally difficult. If you said
Jordan,
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3.
Well, we can make it 3.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. That makes it even harder.
I'm going to tell you now, and Sly Cooper is freaking amazing. You can make it Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 or 3 for all I care. Tony Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, what a game. There are a few games that my brothers and I basically like wore out our controllers playing, and Tony Hawk was one of them for sure. Mm-hmm. We got a couple of Tony Hawks in the chat. Easy clap for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Nick mentioning that he would go Sly, his brother's gonna go T-Hawk, but yeah, T-Hawk. What do they call him? The
Birdman.
The Birdman. The Birdman's going to take it.
Like here, this is just to put into perspective, and I'll make it quick. Like if you think about Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and when you think of any game known to mankind, what other game can you call out where low key you just practice the whole day? That's all. Like sometimes you don't even do the missions. You're just like, I'm just gonna keep going just to see what tricks I can do. Did you get any of the free roam stuff? No, I was just trying to see how long I can.
But I unlocked Darth Maul.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. What was the homeless guy's name in that? Do you guys remember that?
Oh, I don't. What was his name? I don't remember that. I do remember Jack Black being in it as a cop. But
Slippy.
I think Slippy is right.
That might be his name.
I think that might be right. Next up, we have Tekken. And it can be any Tekken. I didn't know what Tekken to put. It can be Tag. It can be fucking 6, whatever. Against Persona 5.
Persona 5 all day, every day.
Shoot. This is only hard for me. And I'm going to say it like this. Tekken is a game that lives with me and my family because those are the only games that my uncles had.
Okay.
But like the reality is Persona 5 is just a better game. Unless you throw in the Tekken with the volleyball, okay. Maybe we got some, but Persona is technically a better game than Persona 5, especially specifically. That's how you know it like Persona 5 wins, because you didn't even know which Tekken to put up against specifically Persona 5. So you like whichever one you think can.
Well, I'm not a fighting guy, but I know like Tekken has to be here. And maybe I put it against Persona 5 on purpose. Who knows? But Persona 5 easy. Like no doubt.
Tekken games lose to Persona 5.
Next up, Ratchet and Clank against another forgettable franchise, Gran Turismo.
Bennett's out there. He's probably listening. He's like, this fucking guy's gonna do it. He's gonna fucking do it. And you're right, Bennett. I am. Ratchet and Clank. Get that fucking shit out of here. I don't need to. I don't want a racing game where I have to do my oil change. I don't want to do oil change in real life. Why would I want to do it on a video game?
Yeah, here's the thing about Gran Turismo is I play games to play games, not to fall asleep, and I fall asleep when I play Gran Turismo because it's a snooze fest.
Boyo.
The doing.
Gran Turismo is not a useless game. How else are you going to compete with Forza? You know what I mean? Like you need something to come. So that's literally like, hey, we have the McGriddle. Oh yeah, well we've got waffle buns. Like it's Burger King, McDonald's. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Ratchet and Clank though,
for sure. And like I respect Gran Turismo. I just don't care. Get fucked. Next up, Katamari Damacy against Death Stranding. I'm a recent player for the first time of Katamari, and it's a dope little game. But Jordan, have you played both or either of these video games?
This is actually the one round I can for sure say I don't know either of these games, other than the fact that the freaking guy from Walking Dead is in Death Stranding.
Yep.
Norman Reedus. There we go.
Yep. Yeah, it's it's a cool game, but it's not a particularly fun game. And it's Kojima, the same guy who did Metal Gear, so it's weird as fuck.
Gotcha.
But there are few games ever created weirder than Katamari in a good way. Like that is like the weirdest fucking game, and it needs to be respected, and it needs to go to the next rounds.
Katamari is one of my favorite games of all time. Like it's probably in the top 3.
That's all. That's all.
I think there is a world in which Death Stranding 2 is really, really cool. Not to say that Death Stranding 1 isn't cool. I just think that it just didn't deliver for me. And yeah, Katamari is just a really, really cool thing. Nick wants to know, can you play Katamari on PS5, Cayman?
Yes, you can indeed.
There you go. You can.
And it's awesome.
Next round, I mean, I think I already know the answer, unfortunately. Crash Bandicoot versus Metal Gear 5. For me, it's an easy Metal Gear 5, but what do you guys think?
Remember, if you do remember, though, I did say, unless we're talking Phantom Pain specifically.
Oh, you said that?
I did. I said I'm not a big Metal Gear fan, but I did actually thoroughly enjoy Phantom Pain. So as much as I love Crash Bandicoot, I actually don't. Crash Bandicoot isn't as legendary to me as like all the others, the Jak and Daxters and the Spyro. So I'm going 5 Metal Gear.
Fuck yes. And like, sure, Crash Bandicoot, iconic. But like,
wait, I'm sorry. My wife peeked her head out because she's a humongous Crash Bandicoot fan. So
she's so pissed.
All you see is this.
That's amazing. You're in trouble. You're in trouble, young man. You know, I think Metal Gear is the peak of the franchise. I think, like, even though the ending kind of doesn't make sense because Kojima was kicked out of the studio, essentially, the gameplay loop of Metal Gear 5 is like, it's like crack cocaine. Like, it is so addicting, and it's amazing. So, Crash Bandicoot can fucking jump off a bridge. We're moving on to, we're about an hour in almost, so we are going to pick up the pace a little bit here. Cross bracket to finish off the first round. We're going to start us off with Uncharted 4 versus God of War 2. Uncharted 4 spits on the grave of God of War 2, in my opinion.
100%.
Who we got there, Jordan?
This is Nathan Drake.
With a little 5 o'clock shadow? Do I see some shadow there?
Yeah, there's a little bit of shadow. I bought this when I bought the big old, I forgot. Every now and again people spend $1 billion to get that big collection, like when the game releases with the thing. I did that for Uncharted 4.
Oh, phew. The little the document crashed, and I was like, did it just get rid of all of my progress? But it saved it. I was about to fucking shit a brick.
That's how much Uncharted 4 destroys God of War 2. That the
whole bracket had to shut down.
It tried to ruin the whole bracket. All right, let me pull this over. Next up, Street Fighter 5 versus Okami. Let's see.
I'm going with Okami.
Ooh.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it. I'm going to go with Okami. Okami is one of those games. Now, I do want to say that I actually didn't play it on the PlayStation. I played the re-release on the Wii. But when it comes down to it, the game is still the same game. And Okami is just one of those really interesting games that we've never seen anything really like that again. And I feel like it needs to be respected more. And maybe one day we'll get it again.
Maybe.
But, Capcom, get your shit together, bro.
Jordan, what about you?
Street Fighter 5, because Capcom is like, I get what you're saying, but also like Capcom's like, yo, this is our 5th one, and somehow, some way, we've dominated.
Yeah,
even more.
I mean, that's totally fair. I think the thing is, what's funny to me about Street Fighter as a franchise is that Street Fighter has like 70 versions of just Street Fighter 2.
Yeah,
just like so many versions of Street Fighter 2. I'm like, why? I don't get it. But I guess there's an audience that just really loves that one game.
I do like Okami, and I would vote for Okami, but I want to give some love to Street Fighter 5 as a fighting game and it being important and all that stuff. But regardless, both are going to lose to Uncharted 4. So let's throw the bone to Street Fighter. And move on to Persona 4 Golden on the PS Vita versus Detroit Become Human. And I'm already going to say Persona 4 wins. Like
100%.
there's Detroit Become Human, cool game.
Cool game.
I really liked it. Probably my favorite of the Quantum. No, what are they called?
Quantic Dream
games. But Persona 4, that is a legit top 3 game for me. So
agree.
Jordan, have you played either?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I was actually gonna choose Detroit Being Human just because low key. I was like, Persona 5 is my choice, and I low key like Persona 5 more than 4. That's just it's a.
I get it. No, I get that.
But I was like, yeah, let's just like I know Persona 4 wins, but I was like, let me just give it to Detroit.
No, sure, we gotta respect it. But it's got my boy Clancy Brown in it. Love Clancy.
True.
But yeah,
It's
Persona
got
4
that
is such a special game.
The beautiful blue-eyed baby from Grey's Anatomy. He's in it.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a handsome bro.
Chef's kiss. You're right, Tony. Next round, Resident Evil 2 versus Eco. And this can be the remake. It can be the original. Just Resident Evil 2 against Eco.
I'm going with Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, I really, really love. You know what? Let's commit to this being the remake.
Okay.
Then this is the Resident Evil remake. Yeah.
Then even more so, yeah.
Resident Evil 2 for you, Jordan? Or okay. Yeah, me too. I really loved that game. Next up, we got Devil May Cry 3 versus the PSP classic Patapon 3, the Battle of the Threes. I love Patapon.
I love Devil May Cry.
I love Devil May Cry also.
Devil May Cry, boom.
Devil May Cry 3 especially is just really fucking good.
It's really cool. There are this amount of style in Devil May Cry games is kind of criminal.
Well, I think what's even more important is that Devil May Cry 2 is universally hated. Like that game almost destroyed the entire franchise. That's how badly it was received. So for them to make Devil May Cry 3, which is considered like possibly the best Devil May Cry, like, you know, there's a reason why, and that's that good.
Yeah. Next up, Horizon Zero Dawn versus Jak and Daxter 2. Horizon Zero Dawn, baby.
The zero and the dawn.
Yes.
Next up, this is a tough one for me, legitimately. Kingdom Hearts versus Guacamelee. Guacamelee was one of my favorite games on the Vita. I was obsessed with it, but Kingdom Hearts was like so out of nowhere cool at the time, mixing Square characters with Disney, and the gameplay is great. Let your heart be your guiding key, Jordan.
So fucking stupid. You know, it's so fucking stupid, but I'm still going to select it here.
Great.
I mean,
I know this will make Nick very happy, but
I'm only doing it for Nick.
Like you would have actually chosen Guacamelee?
I mean, I enjoy Guacamelee, but like it didn't hit. Like if I'm looking at Vita games in particular, like obviously Persona 4 is number one. But then one of the games, we're not even seeing the title at all. Killzone didn't make the list, period. But Killzone Mercenaries on the Vita, chef's kiss.
Sure, that is a really good game.
Greatest FPSs of all time.
I should have put Killzone and Resistance on this list. I'm just now realizing I didn't put either of them on this list, and that's
don't worry. I was the one that was supposed to proofread all of this, and I apparently missed it too. So
it happens. But Jordan, do you have one that you like here? You love Disney. You got to be Kingdom Hearts here, right?
It was and the funny thing is because I don't know very many Vita games. I actually know Guacamelee, but
yeah.
It's the Disney part of Kingdom Hearts because long story short. My first time actually properly playing Kingdom Hearts was 3, and I wasn't like the biggest fan. And then someone was like, "Play the first one. Like, play the first one first." And I was like, "Oh God, sorry, never mind. I apologize. Yeah. I love all of them." So yeah, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts was when I was in college. I because they hadn't re-released them on PS3. I found a PS2 on eBay just to play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 because I always wanted to play them as a kid, but we never had a PlayStation. And because I really love the first two games, it just starts to get really like too confusing for me after that. But so yeah, Kingdom Hearts gets the win here. Final matchup of the first round: Metal Gear Solid versus Rogue Legacy for the PS Vita. This is a clear Metal Gear Solid for me, even though Rogue Legacy was one of my favorite Vita games. Metal Gear was so iconic. It changed, like it made games become cinematic. Like that was like the first game to do it, kind of. So it's got to be Metal Gear Solid here. But what do you guys think?
I agree. No, I think you're spot on with that one. Metal Gear didn't necessarily create the stealth genre per se, but it was what made the stealth genre more mainstream, I suppose. So definitely agree that takes it for me.
Yeah. We'll talk more about this in a future round probably, but the Psycho Mantis fight alone, truly, Tony couldn't have said it better. But we can circle back to that. All right, let's start round 2, and we're gonna start kind of. We don't want to like go too fast, but we're gonna start going a little faster here. So first round matchup for round 2, God of War 2018 versus Deathloop. I'm the biggest Deathloop fan here, but it's easily God of War.
It's
God of War.
I like how you started. I am the biggest Deathloop fan, but it is even yeah.
It's sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. Tomb Raider versus Uncharted 2.
I'm going Uncharted 2.
I'm right there with him.
Yeah.
I would have also gone Uncharted 2, even though, as I've said, it's not my favorite of the franchise, but it's such a special game. Even though it's not my cup per se compared to the others. Infamous versus Silent Hill 2. Even though I've not played Silent Hill 2, this would be Infamous for me because I did really like that game. I just liked Peace Walker more.
I'm going with I'm going with Silent Hill 2 on this one. I think Silent Hill 2 is just ultimately just more. It's just more there for me in terms of its longevity as a franchise, longevity as an IP, or just everything. I mean, there's movies made out of this franchise.
You're right. I think you just convinced me, but Jordan, go ahead.
I was going to give it to the chat, but he just convinced me because I like him.
You convinced me.
Yep, that was a great convincing.
You convinced me. Silent Hill 2 going to the Sweet 16. Finally of the square bracket, Spyro versus Ghost of Tsushima. Jordan, I'm starting with you.
Okay, I'm going to say this. It does not change. You explained Ghost of Tsushima so well that it's going to actually take my choice over Spyro. Sadly, like there was such a great explanation of the game. I was like, yeah.
R.I.P. to Spyro. Respect to the dragon. Not Cisco. Spyro. But Ghost of Tsushima moves on to the Sweet 16. The triangle bracket first matchup. This is going to be so brutal.
Real tough one.
Final Fantasy VII versus Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So I want to start by saying, John, Patrick says, I'm voting Infamous. Nothing changing my mind 2 seconds later. You're right. It's Silent Hill 2. Final Fantasy VII versus Grand Theft Auto. So I just played Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time because I'd never played through all of the original Final Fantasy VII. But even though I have not played through it, I recognize how unbelievably iconic that game is. Like, it might be the most iconic game on this list. But I want to push it to you guys first before I make my choice between Final Fantasy VII and Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Yeah, I'm torn because I feel like, for a PlayStation bracket, Final Fantasy VII, but also at the same time, I look at Vice City as something that's like, that's just one of those games that's just so big,
Sure.
So I'm going to go with Vice City.
Okay, we got one for Vice City. Jordan, what about you?
Shit, Taki mushrooms. I was hoping. Okay.
No, you're good.
Crap. Okay, so damn it. Wow. I'm thinking I might give it to Final Fantasy VII purely because when you look at all of the Final Fantasies, it's like, 7 is like freaking we're here. But it's kind of going against the argument I made earlier. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, regardless of how freaking dope it is, Grand Theft Auto 5 is also like, if like low key people can probably just eat off of 5 for so long, they'll be fine.
Sure.
But like Final Fantasy 7 is like, I don't care if you make the most perfect Final Fantasy ever, it's still Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna vote for 7. I think mostly on icon status. I do really like Vice City, and respect to the king Ray Liotta. But Final Fantasy 7 is it's kind of like S tier in terms of like icon status, the impact it had on games and all that kind of stuff. And it's such a big franchise that they're making like 9 different versions of it on for the new systems. So Final Fantasy 7. This next one, honestly, like this, this is so tough for me. between Ni no Kuni and The Last of Us Part 2.
Honestly, I don't even want to vote on this one.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do it. I don't want to do it.
I technically can't. I actually am going to give mine to the chat because by default, I kind of go Last of Us 2 because I don't know Ni no Kuni. So I'm going to give mine to the chat.
We see Last of Us 2 in the chat so far. No one else has chimed in for this one. So we're going to give Jordan's vote to Last of Us Part 2. Cayman?
Last of Us, God damn it. They're both such good games. They're so good. Oh, this sucks. This is the worst. This is the worst feeling in the world. I'm going Ni no Kuni. Fuck that. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going.
So you're making me pick.
I'm making you be the bad guy now. Yeah. It sucks, doesn't it?
It's this is truly like so much more difficult than I ever could have anticipated. But
yeah, the triangle round was pretty gnarly.
I'm gonna give it to The Last of Us Part 2, which some people might not be surprised by because of how much I fucking scream about The Last of Us. But I know, like, it's few games, if any games, have been able to do what The Last of Us Part 2's story achieved. And it's just like, it is an achievement in video games. And Ni no Kuni is amazing, but I wouldn't say it's an achievement in video games as a whole.
That's so funny because I would like to point out the beginning of this. Cayman said Ni no Kuni would be a winner or top 5. One of those two.
Final 4, I think, is what he said.
Final 4 is what you said.
I mean, no, I knew, like, I didn't think it was gonna get there. I would champion it. I would champion it. But, for sure. The truth of the matter is, Patrick, you are correct. However, I just love Ni no Kuni so much. Like, it's
so fucking good. Things, like, if you still haven't played Ni no Kuni, it's on Switch now. Like, it's everywhere now, except maybe Xbox. I actually don't know that it's on Xbox, but it's on Switch. It's on PC, I think. It's on I'm saying it's everywhere, and I'm like, I actually don't know if it's these two places, but it's definitely on Switch. So go play that game. All right, next up, Shadow of the Colossus versus Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I mean, I tried to vote against Symphony of the Night in the last round, so I think it's only fair that I vote against it again this round and choose Shadow of the Colossus. But what are you guys thinking?
That's fair.
Jordan,
John in the chat says Castlevania all day.
Because I was going to go Castlevania.
I was actually going to go Castlevania.
Oh, there we go. Let's fucking go.
Symphony of the Night moves on.
Can we just say whoever wins this next round, it's safe to say that Patrick is still going to fight against Castlevania. So whoever wins this next round is going to the...
I don't know. Actually, I could spoil and say I might choose Castlevania over Resident Evil, but I wouldn't choose it over Spider-Man.
Fair, because actually,
so that brings us to our next Resident Evil versus Spider-Man. Resident Evil, it didn't start a genre, but it was a game changer when it came out. Even though today it feels like you're playing a game without hands because it's such it controls so poorly. But Jordan, I'm curious what game you think should win this matchup.
We got Miles Morales on screen right now.
Sorry, my bad. Just kind of webbed myself in. Ooh. Choosing Spider-Man, obviously.
Yeah. I think that's we've got Resident Evil 2, which I think is arguably just a better Resident Evil game on the opposite side. So I feel very confident and comfortable saying Spider-Man here.
For sure. All right. Final Fantasy VII, Last of Us Part 2, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and Spider-Man move on in the triangle bracket. Let's go to the circle bracket with The Last of Us versus Jak and Daxter. 2 games made by Naughty Dog.
Mm-hmm.
We're going Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's my favorite game of all time. Last of Us moves on.
Wait, can we talk about the fact that no one really said anything, but like before he even said we're going, you already like clicked it.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, boys. If both of you had said Jak and Daxter, I'm the one with the mouse. That's the truth. And that's the truth. Next up, Twisted Metal Black versus Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. I think, I talked about how iconic Metal Black was, Twisted Metal Black, but Tony Hawk, like it's a special franchise and it's a special game, more so than Twisted Metal Black. So it gets my vote in round 2.
Mine as well.
I agree.
Tony Hawk, Pro Skater 2. Moving on, which brings us to our next matchup, Persona 5 versus Ratchet and Clank. And we didn't clarify this last round. This is the remake because it's the same exact game. It just feels better, looks better. So this is the 2016 remake, Ratchet and Clank. But
I'm still going Persona 5. I love Ratchet and Clank, but Persona 5 is it's potentially one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. It's just simple. That's the case.
Technically, I was going to do the same thing I did on the last Persona 4 one, but in reverse, because I was going to be like, well, Persona 4 is in it, so I would like Ratchet and Clank to go. So I am going to stick with Ratchet and Clank.
All right, so it's split. We got, let's see, Sweet Skeet says Persona 5. It's the only person that has chimed in so far for this round. So I'm gonna let Nick be the deciding voice here and move Persona 5 to the next round. But truly respect to Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
A great game. Next up, Katamari versus Metal Gear Solid.
Easy.
5.
Easy.
It's an easy
Katamari Damacy. Yeah. Just go ahead and move it to the championship round. It's fine. I don't think it's going to move to the championship round, is it?
I mean, we already talked about it. That was the one round I don't know Katamari or Death Stranding.
Right.
So again, it's low key for me a by default Metal Gear 5. So it's like I kind of would just throw mine to the chat technically.
Well, you're throwing it right into the hands of Tony Thomas. The first one to chime in, Big Boss Baby, because also my vote would have been Metal Gear Solid 5.
It's fine. It's fine. I died on that hill though.
You did, and it was respectable. I think you made the King of the Universe proud. What was his name? The King of the Universe,
King of the Cosmos.
King of the Cosmos. I'm sorry. Thank you. But yeah, Metal Gear, great game. Last of Us, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, Persona 5, and Metal Gear 5 move on to the Sweet 16. So we're to the last bracket, the cross bracket. We're starting off Uncharted 4 versus Street Fighter 5.
Easy.
Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4.
Yeah. It's not even close. And I mean, Nathan Drake has made an appearance on the podcast with his hair slicked back.
This next one I think is the hardest one for me.
This is really tough.
I'm such a diehard Persona 4 guy, but at the same time, I do think that Resident Evil 2 is more important to PlayStation than Persona 4.
Sure. I would agree with you on that. I don't know that it's going to change my vote. It might, but Resident Evil 2 is more important, I think, to PlayStation than Persona is. Jordan, do you have a choice here?
Yes. Resident Evil will not be eliminated in my book. I love Persona. It's great, but it's like Resident.
I think you're right. I think even though I think Persona 4 is the better video game, I think you're right. I think Resident Evil, it deserves to go past the second round. And we have Persona 5 right above it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So Resident Evil moves on. Now, Devil May Cry 3 versus Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'll go first. I actually go, as much as Devil May Cry 3 is dope, Zero Dawn is one of the most unique. How do you make a unique game in the
2017?
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
That's so unique. That's Zero Dawn for me.
Agreed.
That is true. I agree.
Kingdom Hearts versus Metal Gear Solid. Two iconic old boys here. We got one for Metal Gear Solid.
Nick got one pity vote. Not again.
Not again.
Not again.
What about you, Jordan?
I'm going Kingdom Hearts.
Patrick?
This is actually tougher than I thought it was going to be for me. Because I would have expected this was an easy Metal Gear. But Metal Gear, I mean, Kingdom Hearts is there is nothing like a Kingdom Hearts fan. Like there are so many, like the Kingdom Hearts fan base is so big and they care about that game so much. And I feel like Metal Gear people just like kind of don't care as much about anymore. But I think going back to the argument earlier about Resident Evil being more iconic to PlayStation, I do think that Metal Gear is more iconic to PlayStation than Kingdom Hearts is.
I would agree with that.
I think I do think if Kingdom Hearts was in another spot, it would go further. But I think for now, Metal Gear deserves to go on in my book. I think it gets my vote.
You got to give them credit though to the fans that they can remember a title of a game like Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Chapter 5.7 version 1.38 remix volume 3, and they say it like it just rolls off the tongue, like it's like saying cat or dog to them, and you're like, how do you fuckers know any of this? What are you saying? Could you even tell me? I watched a video trying to explain the story of Kingdom Hearts, okay? The guy narrating it was like, okay, now we need to take a break so I can try to figure out where the fuck I am now. Like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing, Cayman, though. I want to poke a little hole in your argument. You said it just rolls off their tongue. It just rolled off your tongue like nothing.
You did.
I made up that title, but
I don't think you did.
Positive there is that exact title.
I think that's the exact game. And
Nick's out there, and he's like, "Oh, no, you messed up. It's not volume 3. It's volume 2." Like you just.
All right.
These guys are rabid, man. Rabid.
True. All right. The Sweet 16 has begun. Time check. How's everybody doing? We're an hour 20 in. Are we good to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Let's do this.
God of War 2018 versus Uncharted 2.
I actually hate this one.
This is a tough one. Most of them are going to be very tough from this point on.
I hate this one with a passion. Here's the thing. I would say, I'm going to leave it up to this. If you play both of them and you say, I want to play them both over again, and what feeling do I get? As much as I love Uncharted, technically God of War is like, it takes Uncharted and it's like, hey bro, I know that you like to like make movies and stuff, but like sit back for a second. You'll get to number 4 eventually, but like right now, we're gonna destroy you.
I agree.
Yeah, it sucks, but yeah.
I think when you put them next to each other, I think God of War is just a better paced video game, like it, because Uncharted 2, a lot of people, I'm one of them, like how it just kind of recycled the twist from the first game, and like all the whole blue goo section at the end with Vucevic or whatever his name was. It just it felt a little stale compared, because it felt very samey to 1. And God of War, it's a breath of fresh air the whole time.
Well, also really quickly, it's the idea of Uncharted 2, it feels like you're playing a movie, whereas God of War, you're playing a movie that's also not linear. You know what I mean? Like Uncharted 2 is a movie, but it's almost like, hey, literally, you're just filling in the blanks. God of War is like, no, you choose what part of the movie you're going to see next.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I love how it is, the entire game is presented as one singular shot.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's so fucking cool. I'm such a sucker for a one shot in a movie, and it's a 20-hour one shot essentially. Next in this bracket, Silent Hill 2 versus Ghost of Tsushima. Cayman, let's start with you because you've been the Silent Hill 2 champion this whole time.
Yeah, I think when we get to this point, this is when boys become men, right? You know, I think for me, as much as I love Silent Hill 2, and I think Silent 2 is such like a ambivalent property, I do think if I'm looking at a game from the enjoyment factor, Ghost of Tsushima is just one of those moments where it was like, Silent Hill 2 is still a horror game. And while I don't think, I mean, we had Resident Evil around the same time, and while they were creating essentially the genre together, like Ghost of Tsushima is just, it's just on a different level of like what you're getting. You're getting Assassin's Creed, but you're also getting that like really special a Sucker Punch open world. Yeah. Just the way that the game is designed, it's just so incredible. I can't not give it to Ghost.
The opening of Ghost, when you get the title card, You go through the forest, you come out, the music is building. Jin leans down off the horse and runs his hand through the monkey grass or whatever it is, the like really tall grass, is like, talking about it gives me chills. And there are so many moments in that video game that are like that I just, yeah, I will also be voting for Ghost of Tsushima. But Jordan, I want to open it up to you as well to see where you would be voting on this.
This is probably the one time I understand everything you guys are saying, but when it comes to actually, I'm agreeing with what was actually said in the chat. Like, to fear something while playing a video game, dude.
Yeah.
It's Silent Hill 2. Ghost of Tsushima is like amazing, but it's also like, when I'm thinking about the rest of the games that are in the brackets to come, where like Silent Hill is one of the biggest outliers as far as like, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Now, like, Jordan has sold me back on my initial.
Oh no!
All right, let's say, yeah. You know what? I'm going back. I'm going back in time.
Oh,
We're going back in time. Retract everything I just said. Jordan sold me. We're going Silent Hill 2 again.
Tony makes such a great point. Ghost of Tsushima really blurs the line between game and artwork, and he's right, but it doesn't have the votes anymore.
Like I said earlier,
moves on.
Boys have become men in this bracket, right?
Unbelievable. That is, I'm shocked. All right,
now let's tear it all down.
Let's tear it all down. Let's go from men to babies again, because we're gonna be crying. Final Fantasy VII versus The Last of Us Part 2.
I think all of this.
Here's the thing. I'll start us off and I'll be brief. As I've said, Final Fantasy VII probably more important to the PlayStation than The Last of Us Part 2, mostly because of time. PlayStation or Last of Us Part 2 only came out 2 years ago, like 25 months ago. But it's incredible, and it gets my vote pretty easily. But I will fully understand if we end up choosing Final Fantasy VII to move on. But The Last of Us Part 2, I know there's a lot of people online that think they didn't like where the story went, but they can get fucked.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to condense my story so it makes sense. And I might also burn bridges at the same time, because I'm throwing it up to make it make sense.
Great.
So I am a big fan of it didn't go where you want it to go. I love that. And to explain it, I love Episode 8 of Star Wars.
Oh, me too.
It's such a you want something different? Boom. I'm gonna just take a big dump on what you want for different. And I think Last of Us 2, I absolutely love. Like, all the little different changes and stuff. I'm like, honestly, I'm a huge fan of this. Freaking kill him, do it. I'm like, do it all. I was a sucker for it, so I'm going Last of Us 2 actually, just for that reason. It was just so.
Cayman, do you want to throw a bone to Final Fantasy just to respect it? Because it's
that's actually what I was going to do, was throw a bone to Final Fantasy. It's when you think of PlayStation, like, there's franchises. I think for me, I look at something like Final Fantasy a little bit different than The Last of Us Part 2, because I also think that The Last of Us, the first one, or Part 1, I suppose, is, when I think of PlayStation, I think of that.
Sure.
But when I look at Time Capsule, like PlayStation 1, like, that is Final Fantasy 2 or Final Fantasy 7. Sorry.
For sure. No, you're right. Like, I think I wasn't, it's kind of the you're damned if you do, damned if you don't situations on this one. But we are damned if we don't pick The Last of Us Part 2 to move on. Final triangle bracket Sweet 16 matchup, Castlevania Symphony of the Night versus the man who can thwip through New York City, Spider-Man.
Can I go first on this one?
Yeah, please. Yeah. You can go first whenever you want, Jordan.
Oh, thanks. Well, I want to make it even, but like, when I'm very passionate, I'm going to choose Spider-Man for a reverse reason.
Okay.
I could have waited for the PS5, but I loved Spider-Man so much that when I found out they were doing a mini sequel in Miles Morales, Spider-Man was so good that I was like, I actually need to get a PS5 now, because now if I get the Miles Morales, which I'm really excited about, I get the remastered for PS5 version of Spider-Man, which I 100% played before Miles Morales, because that's how good Spider-Man was.
For sure.
So I'm going.
I know, I get that. And it's Spider-Man. It's Peter Parker. It's the man who swings.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like it.
But I am actually voting for Castlevania Symphony of the Night here, and I'll tell you why. I'm an agent of chaos. Is the first reason. But the second reason, Tony in the chat, Symphony of the Night, it's too important. We said it a few rounds ago. Metroidvania exists because of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Spider-Man is in my top 10 video games of all time. But when I think of PlayStation games, Castlevania it does. So many games don't exist without Symphony of the Night, and Spider-Man just fucking rules. So like there's a disparity there in terms of like the weight it carries. However, I won't be upset if Spider-Man wins, if Cayman goes Spider-Man, because like I said, it's in my top 10 favorite games of all time. I think it's like almost a perfect video game.
Okay, here's a question. Can I rebuttal you? Not like rebuttal properly, because what you're saying is true. But I will put my foot down on Spider-Man to say, what if low key Spider-Man is very important to PlayStation because of what is about to happen with superhero games going forward? Because now you have Wolverine, which I'm about to cry over because it looks amazing. Like, it looks like Spider-Man put their foot down on something where it's like, hey guys, like, we're about to be so dope for what we're going to continue to do with superhero games.
For sure. I think there have been good superhero games. There have been great superhero games, but Spider-Man, I think, was the first superhero game to come out that was like transcendent. Like, it was such a great video game, and it made I don't know that there's a game that feels better to play than Spider-Man. Like, swinging through New York City, I don't know how they made it feel so perfect. So I won't be upset if Cayman chooses Spider-Man here. And I think you're right, Jordan, that I think Spider-Man, we will, in 10 years from now, Spider-Man will be a huge moment in PlayStation's history for sure. I think you're totally right there. But Cayman, it ultimately comes to you.
It sucks. I don't like it. Fuck, I'm gonna have to actually pick. You guys aren't just gonna do this for me. Okay.
I mean,
see, the thing is, I see both sides, right? I see that Castlevania is so important to, I think, the legacy, especially of PlayStation. Like, that was one of their first really big games.
Yeah.
But then you got Spider-Man, which is like the next generation, right? Like, this is now where this is PlayStation evolved. This is PlayStation grown up. Like, we are now where we are. Ultimately, I'm coming down on the side of Spider-Man, specifically because I think that Spider-Man's really important today, mainly because of who's making Spider-Man. And the fact that Castlevania is essentially dead in the water outside of the Netflix show. So I'm going with Spider-Man. I think that we're now, like, I think we're at a point now where we're starting to see like PlayStation's evolution. They're just getting better with time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tony in the chat and Nick in the chat talking about like the Arkham games being very, like, they were kind of like one of the first like superhero games to not feel like garbage. And I think that's true for sure. But I think this Spider-Man, even though, you know, it's an exclusive, I think it is such a incredible Spider-Man game. Whereas I think Batman Arkham is a good Batman game, but like, it could be a lot better of a Batman game, if that makes sense. That might be splitting hairs here, and it might not be very clear what I'm trying to say, but I think it doesn't do what it does as good as Spider-Man does what it does, if that makes sense.
I can make even more sense. Batman is my second favorite all-time video game ever, and that's because of biases. And even then, as a person who's the biggest fan of the Arkham games, it doesn't get, like, Spider-Man is such a monumental, like, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I recently played through Asylum in Arkham City, and I had a great time doing it. But as I was playing it, I was like, wow, did this game always feel like this? Like, did the combat in this game always feel like really airy and like not smooth? Whereas like with Spider-Man, and that's probably just a product of it being a game on PS4 and PS5. But anyway, we're getting off topic. Circle bracket, Sweet 16, the first matchup, The Last of Us versus Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
I think we all know where this is going.
No, we don't, because I'm saying Tony Hawk.
Whoa!
And it is because of the same reason I said before. Number one, and there are sports games that exist. There is no video game in the world that someone plays just to practice. Just to practice.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Rocket League.
Oh, shoot. Damn it.
Well,
Damn it.
well, also, I'm going to say The Last of Us, because I just finished The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5 last night. If a zombie outbreak starts tomorrow, I'm grabbing my scissors. I'm grabbing my bottles of alcohol. I'm grabbing my rags. I'm grabbing some, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm learning so much. I'm practicing for the apocalypse by playing The Last of Us Part 1.
Okay. Here's another argument, and this has nothing to do with PlayStation. There's a freaking game that's an Xbox exclusive. I'm trying to blank on that zombie game, but it's a very big
State of Decay.
Thank you. State of Decay. State of Decay for me it's even though Last of Us is still a better game, I don't need to I practice in State of Decay.
Sure,
I don't
that's fair.
practice in Last of Us.
That's fair.
But I don't think Last of Us is a game that asks you to practice to be good at it. When you are getting good at it, it is because you've already played the game once, because you were like, I need to see the narrative. Like, I need to see the story to its conclusion. Then you go into like okay, now I'm going to up the difficulty. I'm going to do it without the listening. I'm going to do it with like limited resources, stuff like that. So like, I don't know. I just don't know if The Last of Us asks you to practice, but in this situation, I'm sorry, but I'm going the side of The Last.
That's fair. I imagine The Last of Us wins, but I'm saying no. Tony Hawk doesn't ask you to practice. People,
it makes
like,
you.
if someone was to buy a PlayStation 2,
Mhm.
legit, their first thought is, what games do I get? Oh, sorry. Blah, blah, blah. After Tony Hawk, what games do I get? Like, because when they tried to remake Tony Hawk for like the remaster or whatever they did, it was like cool, but it wasn't the same feeling of like those Tony Hawk games. Like, dude, it was like, what the crap, man? I'm just gonna not care about the story. I'm
getting a phone call real quick, guys. I hate to do this, but hello, Pedro. Yeah, what's up? Oh yeah, you guys are wrapping on The Last of Us HBO series coming to TV next year. Got it. Yeah, no. I'm actually doing a podcast right now, Pedro. If can I call you back? Yeah, great. Okay, thanks. So that was Pedro Pascal, who's playing Joel in The Last of Us on HBO, and he called to say The Last of Us is going to the next round.
Got you. Oh, wait, I got a call too. Hey, Tony. Yeah, no, I fought hard. That was it. I just wanted to say I fought hard. All right. Talk to you later.
Oh, sorry, guys. I got a call from the too. Oh, hey, King of the Cosmos. Oh, yeah. No, I fought diligently to get Katamari Damacy in the championship, but I'm doing a bracket right now with a bunch of fucking losers. So I know. Oh, you're gonna destroy the universe again? Okay, cool. Yeah, like I'll definitely roll that ball up of random shit just for you. Okay, cool. Call you back. Sorry, guys. That was just I had to talk to the King of the Cosmos.
I understand. You're a big deal. All right. Last matchup of the Circle Sweet 16: Persona 5 versus Metal Gear Solid 5. The Battle of the Fives.
It's not a battle.
Persona 5.
It's not a battle. I'm so sorry. The battle of the. You can take the word battle out. You can just say the.
You can say 5 if you want.
Yeah,
but it's Persona 5. Look at that dejected face.
No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, no lie. I would also vote Persona 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved Metal Gear 5, but Persona 5 is amazing. Okay. I listen to that soundtrack like weekly.
Oh,
the music is so good. Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, Persona 5 for me as well. So the Elite 8 for the circle bracket is going to be The Last of Us versus Persona 5. But let's finish off the cross bracket Sweet 16 with Uncharted 4 versus Resident Evil 2. Jordan, I think I know where you're going on this one.
Yeah. I want to say Resident Evil, but like Uncharted that's PlayStation for me is not PlayStation without Uncharted literally being in the picture of all games cons. Everything you have to put Nathan Drake up there. So,
Cayman?
Resident Evil 2 fought valiantly.
It did.
It just sucks that it's up against Uncharted 4.
It did. But look, it wasn't in the 1 seed for no reason. Uncharted 4. I agree. Resident Evil 2, like the reason it got through the last round, it being so iconic to PlayStation. Uncharted is the lifeblood of PlayStation in the modern era. And so, yeah, there's no way it was going to be beat in this round. Final Sweet 16 matchup, Horizon Zero Dawn versus Metal Gear Solid.
It's so hard to say goodbye to Metal Gear.
Yes, indeed.
That was very good. I'm actually going to vote Metal Gear.
Hold on. I'm getting another call. Oh. Hey, David Hayter. Hey, man. Yeah, your games suck. Deuce. I told that guy. Hold on. No, wait. No one has Kojima's number, right?
That one was just mean.
I'm getting a call. Hello? Hideo-san? How are you? Good. Oh, you need a new big boss. I'll do my audition for you right now. Metal Gear. I booked the part. Great. I'll come in next week. Otacon. Bye. So that was Hideo, and so I'm going Metal Gear, but I know that Horizon Zero Dawn is going to pull through here. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Ooh. You know, as I was putting this bracket together, I assumed that a lot of the games that were going to go on were modern games, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think games get better as they go on, but I didn't expect it to be as modern
as it is,
leaning as it is. But that's interesting. Jordan, it looked like you wanted to say something.
No. I was wiping my nose. Sorry.
Got it. Understood. No, don't apologize. All right. We are in the Elite Eight, the final matchup of the square bracket. God of War versus Silent Hill 2.
Going God of War.
God of War.
Yeah. Hey, Silent Hill.
Silent Hill 2.
Hell yeah, man. I'm glad it got some love.
Silent Hill 2 made it a lot further than I thought it was going to.
Konami remakes Silent Hill 2 like Capcom did Resident Evil 2. And what's fuck, man?
God of War. Moving on. Triangle bracket, The Last of Us Part 2 versus Spider-Man. Jordan, I start with you.
Damn. Okay, so this one is a...
Look, you've been running your mouth about Spider-Man.
I really have, but like Last of Us 2 is really... No. We're going to stay Spider-Man. We are going to stay Spider-Man. Had to think about it properly. And you know why I'm giving the vote to Spider-Man? Because of them damn pigeons. I'm giving it to Spider-Man because of the pigeons.
Yep, I understand. Cayman?
Marvel Spider-Man.
If you weren't going to do it, I was.
I think like, at the end of the day, look, I love The Last of Us 2. Like, I love it. It is a fucking incredible game. But Marvel's Spider-Man essentially injected blood back into like, hey, superhero video games can still be great.
Yeah.
And I think that it resonates more in terms of like the broader scope of who also plays it.
Yeah. So
and
Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man is
incredible.
He's so good as Spider-Man. And I love that they do Mr. Negative. Like I love when a game or a franchise as big as Spider-Man, they have the guts to pull out like a D level villain and make it work so well.
Also, the Doc Ock storyline through that is just insanely good.
Also, so good. That's the opening. You fight one of the biggest bosses known to a lot of Marvel characters. And that's a good opening. Like, whoa, that's a dope opening. So,
for sure.
So, I agree.
All right. Spider-Man wins the triangle bracket. It will face God of War in just a few minutes. Let's finish off the circle bracket with The Last of Us versus Persona 5. Cayman, I want to start with you on this one.
So as the audience knows, and I say this all the time, I am a diehard JRPG guy. I fucking love my JRPGs, and I love Persona. However, The Last of Us is arguably the greatest PlayStation game of all time. And I stand by that.
I mean, are we spoiling the end of this, Cayman?
Maybe. Let's find out in the next round when it goes up against Uncharted 4.
We'll see. Jordan?
Here's the thing. Whether I want to answer or I want the chat to answer, it's the same answer, which is The Last of Us.
Glad you both are on the right side of history.
So now in the championship round. Oh, sorry. Do we all have to actually say Uncharted 4? Or
I don't think we do. I don't think we do. I think we've already nailed it, Patrick. I'm sorry. Horizon Zero Dawn's incredible, but Uncharted 4 is the way you finish a story.
I don't disagree. I would have voted Horizon, but it sounds like you both are on the side of Uncharted.
Really quick. I mean, you don't have to make it long-winded, obviously, but why would you take Horizon over it?
So I do think that Uncharted 4, to Cayman's point just now, like it stuck the landing so well. But it is a game that I really have trouble replaying. There's a lot on the first time going through it. I think it is a 10, but because you're experiencing everything for the first time, but there's a lot of bloat in that game on a second playthrough, in my opinion. Okay. There's a lot of stuff in the middle of the game that just doesn't quite work for me. Like at first I really liked the open world part, like those couple levels where you're in the Jeep, you're riding around, but like in a replay, that part was kind of a grind for me. And like Cayman and I have talked several times about like he has the platinum for that game, and I've wanted to get the platinum for that game, but I just don't think I can ever do it because I just have trouble getting through that game a second time. I've never finished it a second time, and I've tried like 3 different times. But Horizon Zero Dawn, I think, is just like it's so cool. It's so fresh. And I love Aloy. I love her story. So that's why I would have gone Horizon, but I understand why Uncharted.
Okay. You've actually convinced me to stick with Uncharted. I just got
him. So the final 4 is 4 games. Well, 3 games that have come out in the last 4 years, and then Last of Us. Well, no, Uncharted 4 was like what, 2016?
2016. Well, The Last of Us just got re-released as well. So
that's true. That's true. Last week. Okay, so let's start us off on the left side. God of War 2018 versus Spider-Man on PS4.
I'll start because I've been a big champion for Spider-Man. You can put God of War in for me.
I'm right there. I'm right there with you.
There is a day in which we make it to this point and I choose Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But that's not this day.
You know what I mean?
This day we choose God of War.
Like if you break it down, right? When the trailer dropped for Spider-Man 2, we were thrilled and excited. But when God of War 2018 finished, we were already there. Like we were like there was no we need to see the trailer. It was like I need this game to come out tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you are so lucky that you just played it a couple months ago that you only have to wait half a year. Meanwhile, I've played the game like 3 times because I just want more, but I can't have it until November.
My friend just sent me the story trailer and I was like, I know the trailer's out. I refuse to watch it. I just want to go in.
Don't watch it.
I don't watch it.
Absolute fucking chills.
Yeah.
Absolute chills.
It's amazing. Yeah, something I meant to mention at the top of the episode. There's probably the most news from a quantity standpoint leading into this episode from the last episode, but this was the plan and we stuck to it. But next week is going to be thick. We've had like 5 different showcases with like 90 games announced.
It was funny. I was talking to Sid earlier when I was watching the trailer with her and I looked at her and I was like, I know we're getting married in a month, but I don't know. I think I might be more excited for God of War Ragnarok.
It's unbelievable.
She told me to sleep on the couch tonight, so
I understand.
Fair.
Who will God of War be facing in the finals? Will it be The Last of Us or will it be Uncharted 4? I want to start us off on this one.
Okay.
and I think everyone could see this from a mile away. I'm going to be going The Last of Us. I already said very nonchalantly it's my favorite game ever made, like an hour ago, because we've been going for nearly 2 hours. But it's just, I just finished part 1 last night, the PlayStation 5 remake, and that game still, I've played it like 7 times at this point, and it still affects me in such a deep way, unlike any video game I've ever played. The story of Joel and Ellie and this man who, actually, I'm going to save it. And if it goes on, I'll go through my spiel against God of War. But Cayman, Jordan, what are you thinking? Jordan, he's pulling up the Drake.
I think Nathan walked so Joel could run. He is on to say goodbye, and he just wants his memory to live on. When you see Uncharted 2 coming out in theaters, probably, I don't know when. But yeah, I'm going the Last of Us.
My man.
Yeah, I'm right there with him. I mean, I love Uncharted 4, but The Last of Us, I think, is one of those moments in history.
Oh, what a finals.
Shit.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh.
This is honestly what I expected. When I was looking at this bracket, this is what I expected the finals to be. There were a couple scenarios in my mind where like maybe The Last of Us got upset and it ended up being like Persona or whatever here, but I expected it to be God of War versus The Last of Us. So I'm going to continue what I was saying about The Last of Us now that we're in the finals.
Okay.
This story about a man who loses everything, as so many people did when this outbreak happens, but loses the ability to open his heart to love again because of the death of his daughter. You start this game, you meet Ellie, you're tasked with smuggling her out of Boston to get her to the Fireflies because she is immune to the cordyceps virus or the cordyceps fungus. And the first half of that game, he is a bitter man who sees how much this girl reminds him of his daughter and sees that there is a world in which he starts to care for this person, but he doesn't let himself because he doesn't want to hurt again. One thing leads to another, and Ellie becomes his daughter, much like Sarah was, because of the journey that they go on together, the trials and tribulations that they have, that like when they get separated and Joel has to come find her in Silver Lake, Colorado, and that connection that they form to where this man had closed off his heart from being able to love again, opens it back up, and then is tasked with losing his daughter again. And he makes the decision to, well, I'm not going to say it in case someone hasn't played it because the new game is out now, but it is a journey that a game has never been able to do. Any game or movie has done for me. And it in 4K, 60 frames a second on PS5 in the remake, everything hits 10 times harder. But that is, that's where my vote is going. Ooh. Is for The Last of Us. I want to bring in a comment from the chat real quick. Oh. A couple comments. Nick says God of War is better than Last of Us because it took elements of The Last of Us, the story and adapting Norse mythology, the combat, and more. God of War got lucky coming out after to learn a lot from The Last of Us and other games. After playing both, that's my pick. Last of Us had some weird levels that just felt repetitive to me. Not the story. The story is incredible, but the gameplay, worst I can say about God of War is enemy skins being reused. Everything else felt fresh to me. An interesting perspective.
That is an interesting perspective. I agree more so kind of with the first one. Because as far as the second one goes, technically speaking, you play God of War and you try to complete it and 100% it, certain things are just going to feel repetitive at a certain point. For sure. So I don't technically agree with that second comment, but I hear the argument.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, Cayman, or?
No, you go first. You go first. I'm curious to hear what you think.
Okay. So everything you just said about Last of Us, I think is incredible story-wise, and I also think God of War has the same thing story-wise also.
Sure. Also a very affecting story.
My all-time favorite games, which is Uncharted, then Arkham, and then underneath that by a small, close margin, technically is Spider-Man because of my Marvelness. The only two reasons why Uncharted and Batman are there is because they just made more games, and I love them all continuously.
Makes sense.
If Ragnarok is as great as I'm expecting it to be, God of War is going to bump Spider-Man down, and it may low-key bump Batman down because just God of War 2018 as an overall package, from having to do the rifts in time to just like when I tell you, I actually like yelled at the screen when Loki like realized, oh no, I'm a god, I could do what I want. Dude, I was livid. I was like, dude, you're a freaking brat. I hate you.
Yeah.
I was so like I was like emotionally so strong in every part of the game, from Kratos to Loki to learning about the mom to Boulder, yeah, to Boulder, like every and then when you learn about his mom, like that, I just started caring about everybody. So my pick actually goes to God of War.
We're split. It all comes down to our sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Where's your head at? Walk us through. Take us on a journey if you want. You don't have to just pick it right now. What are you thinking, Cayman?
The Last of Us was the first game that I cried during a video game. That opening segment and then the closeout segment of the game, like, were such emotional moments. But the moment that Kratos kicks open the floorboards in his little rundown shack and he pulls the Chaos Blades out, absolutely lost my fucking mind. I've played every single one of the God of War games, and I've enjoyed all of them, but this God of War was something to behold. With that being said, I'm going with The Last of Us. There's something special about The Last of Us that I just don't know has ever happened in a game since that game came out. It just essentially, to me, it took video games, which we already had moments with games like Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, and we've had all these games that have had all these really big moments. But The Last of Us was the first time I said in my head, and probably out loud, that video games can be artwork. Like, video games are now on the caliber, the same echelon as things like movies and TV. Yeah. Like, they should be treated as such. And I love it because I feel like God of War came in behind it and did the same thing, but The Last of Us was the one that started it. And so for me, I have to give the championship round to The Last of Us.
Whoa. That's a honestly fantastic. I'm gonna be honest, I was shocked at your choice, but when you said Last of Us was the first game you cried, I'm like, bro, you won. The Last of Us won. Like, there's nothing else you can say after crying. I'm like, yeah.
It's just that moment when Joel loses his daughter at the beginning of the game. And it's the whole circle of life, right?
Oh my God.
He loses the daughter. He can't save his daughter, but he can save Ellie. Yeah. And I think that's still such it's just never happened again.
So as I mentioned, I played this game several times, and last night I'm finishing it, and there was a thing that I realized, that this is, spoilers for The Last of Us. I guess you probably just assume that we were going to spoil any of these games, but when he's running with Ellie at the end of the game, I was like, he's running with Sarah like that, and he's having a second chance, and like it just never clicked for me the other several times I've played that game. And playing this game, I'm just like breaking down. It's like 2 a.m. and I'm like, it's something that I just hadn't ever like connected those dots before. And yeah, it's a special game. It's a really special game. And on PS5, it like legitimately everything hits like 10 times harder because the graphics are just so much better, and like the emotion on people's faces, it's amazing. But wow, folks, that is the end of our first bracket, the best PlayStation game of all time. This time we gave it to The Last of Us. Jordan, thank you for joining us. I had a blast.
I did too.
Tell the folks at home, is there anything you want to plug, anything you're going to be in that they can see?
Yes. Coming to Disney Channel. It's premiering on September 25th on Disney Channel. It's called Under Wraps 2. It's my first ever movie, and what's really cool is I actually got a lead role in it. I'm so freaking hype. It's coming to Disney Channel September 25th. And if you don't have Disney Channel, we don't know the date yet, but sometime probably the first week of October, it's going to be on Disney Plus.
Hell yeah.
So I'm really hyped for that.
I'm so excited for you. Under Wraps, one of my favorite DComs.
It's so
and you get to be a lead in the sequel. I can't handle it. I can't handle it that it's happening. But yeah, thank you for joining. You're welcome anytime on the show. Just let me know. And that's our show, folks. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Spot Games Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at Spotlight Games Pod and TikTok at Spotlight Games Pod. Be sure to follow us on Twitch so that when we do future episodes live every Tuesday at Eastern, you can be 8 Eastern. You can be in the chat helping us out like our sweet, sweet listeners did today. We will see you next time around. And hey, remember,